Hey guys, Rob and Christine with Tread and Trail Adventures. We're back out in the CJ5. Been a while, but we're out someplace we were earlier, and there was a super beautiful view from here. You could see Tacoma and Seattle. You could see the Olympic Mountains. But today, of course, you can see we can barely see the camera, but it's still fun, and we still enjoy getting out.
Yeah, we're taking the CJ for a lunchtime jaunt, just out to find a beautiful clearing and take advantage of the day.
Yeah, there's a little chipmunk running around behind the camera that's got my attention now.
When we got into Wilkeson, we made a left past the old historic coke ovens towards Forest Service Road 7710, where we stopped, aired down the tires, and headed out into the forest.
According to the map, we're getting close to our destination here. Can we make it? I don't know. It's a big question.
This road is horrible.
This road is horrible. We're in low range. There's boulders. We just came head to head with a giant Ford F350. I think it had like 4 doors on each side. It's huge.
Not quite that big.
Looks like it. It's like coming up on a school bus. But anyway,
He made it up here just fine.
yeah. CJ, of course, we're going to go through the giant mud puddles. Well, it just happens to be the way to go this time. But we're burning a lot of gas, going slow. The CJ5 has such a small gas tank. It's only a 15-gallon tank. You kind of got to be cognizant of your fuel consumption, which is why a gas gauge is always nice. Some people take that for granted. I don't know why. We've been stuck in some heavy brush, so I can't.
Does mention that this is kind of
this
steep.
One that
yeah.
Ooh. That's what.
Are we gonna need that?
Well, that time it stayed in for a long time.
Oh. Yeah, this is pretty steep.
We don't need it. It's just easier.
The view would be better.
Well, the road, is it over or does it just go to the left?
Technically, this is all, we could walk it. I would walk it. So this is the end of the trail.
This is the end of the trail.
Yeah. All right, we have made it to the top. And unfortunately, this is what it looks like. I was really hoping for a spot where you could see down to the lake. But I guess I was wrong. Just a giant pile of whatever that is. There's a lot of those along the road. So we're gonna have lunch. Having a little bit of hot chocolate. Love me some hot chocolate when it's cold and rainy. Any other celiac people feel like you're getting ripped off by the bread? Itty bitty little sandwich. I mean, like, really?
Hey guys, it's Rob again. Haven't seen the green CJ for a while. We've been making some modifications. One of them is around back here. I'll just take you and show you what we did here. So we had a tube steel bumper, and the tire mount was just a fixed mount, and that was okay. But the problem is with this type of top, the way you have to open this, you can get it open, but with the tire here, you can't get it closed again, and I'll demonstrate that. But this is from a Wrangler. Well, it's not from a Wrangler. It's made for a Wrangler. EAG product. It matches the front bumper pretty good. It has a push button here, which is a little bit difficult, but you can see this swings open. Now, with this, you undo the zippers. This is old school, folks. Now, what's new school about it is in the old days when this was originally made, this had snaps all the way around, and you had to pull it and snap it, snap it, snap it. So now it has this little lip that goes under here, but you can't reattach it if there's a tire here. So now we can roll this up. We can grab this thing here, stretch it around, snap it inside. Now we can actually get to the stuff that we brought. Get in here, get in here. You might be thinking, oh, why don't you just go through the front? Well, these seats don't move as easily as they do in a newer vehicle. So it's way easier to get in from the backside. So this was a great improvement. The other thing we did was the CJ5s are notorious for having a gas gauge and a temperature gauge that don't work. They're inside the speedometer, and they just don't work. So when I took the old bumper off, it also was the mount for the gas tank. So kind of had to take the gas tank and drop it out at the same time. So I checked the fuel sending unit, all that stuff was good. So I bought a new gauge, put a new gauge in the dash. Now I actually have a fuel gauge. Seems like such a basic thing, but I'm so happy to have a fuel gauge. Anyway, got that back on, had to fabricate a bunch of stuff underneath and inside the bumper to attach two body mounts and the gas tank. Kind of a bigger project than it looks, but also the mounts. The mounts are for a Wrangler, which are a lot wider. So it took a bit of fabrication. Finally got that back installed. Got the gas gauge installed. Got the temperature gauge installed. So I'm back to what it had stock. Has speedometer, gas gauge, temperature gauge. Most of these old Jeeps, that's all they had was a speedometer, and it had those two gauges in it. This one actually has a tachometer and a clock. So I believe this is a Laredo model. I tried to decode the VIN number, but they weren't that sophisticated back then. It's just Jeep. But anyway, those are the two basic things I did. Before that, I had the transmission out, was checking the clutch and transmission transfer case, stuff like that. So missed most of the summer with it, but I finally got all that stuff done, and I've been driving it to work for the past week or so, and it just wasn't right. Wasn't running right. The choke, these old rigs have a carburetor, not fuel injected. They have an electric choke, very simple stuff, but wasn't working right. Yesterday, I went to the parts store, bought everything for a tune-up kit. I got an oil change, I got spark plugs, cap, rotor, wires, air filter, PCV valve, replaced all that stuff. And what's funny is, even though this is super old, it's still pretty stock. It's got a different carburetor and a different intake, but it's still pretty stock V8. But all that stuff worked fine, but it really didn't solve the problem. So I put a new carburetor on it. I got a great deal on a new Edelbrock Performer carburetor, and it runs great. It idles. It has low end torque. It runs great. Probably get better mileage. I'm super excited about it. So happy to have her back on the road again, and hope to be seeing it out on the trail more often.
Check out this wee bitty little black frog. Just bopping along.
Coming down this steep and rocky road. Yeah, it's not the long and winding road. It's the steep and rocky road.
What are you doing, Rob?
I just plugged in my compressor to air up our tires. We aired down to go off-road, and this just quit working, and I just realized that the fuse blew in the where it plugs into the cigarette lighter adapter. If we can't get this going, we could die. So I brought some extra fuses in case this happened, because we tested it out at home and realized it was having some issues. Uh-oh. Ooh, now we do have a problem because I lost part of it.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Do you need me to look?
It's all fun and games until something really goes wrong.
You want some help?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on.
So, lost a little end to the fuse holder. Now it looks like I lost the spring too. So I'm just going to take a piece of wire, put in place of the fuse. It's not really the right thing to do, but I've got it plugged right into the battery, so it's not like I'm going to cook part of my electrical harness. Put that down in there. Put that in there. See if it works. No. Oh, it's got to hit that right in the center. All right, so I gave up on the fuse holder idea, so what I did, I cut the cigarette lighter adapter off, strip these wires, these clamp onto the battery, take this end, since it looks like we're replacing this thing anyway, cut that off, strip these wires, this thing takes one of those little glass fuses, the old school little fuses. We didn't have, I had a few at home. When we tested it, the fuse was broken. So I put a fuse in it, it ran. But when when you hook it to the tire, it's trying to start against pressure in the tire. So it draws more current. So it kept popping those little fuses I had. So I just cut this thing off. I cut the other end off and I just twisted them together. I'm not going to damage any wiring. I'm taking it right off the battery. If anything overloads, all it's going to do is melt these wires. So, you know, I mean, I wouldn't do it if I was actually plugging it into the cigarette lighter inside the vehicle, because then if it pulled a bunch of current, it could melt some of your harness. But in this case, everything's fine. That makes sense? So I did start it, and it did start. We'll see if it starts up against the tire pressure.
"15 minutes later."